What is going on? I am Cole and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, this is the video where I talk about my most anticipated comics for New Comic Book Day. In this specific video, we're talking March 22nd, 2023. So if you want to hear what my most anticipated comics are, make sure you stick through this intro.
Most anticipated comic books. Most anticipated comic books from Cole.
So one of the things that I love to tell everyone when I do this video is that I use the resource League of Comic Geeks to go through what I pick for this video. The reason that I like to show this off is that sometimes I might show a book off and maybe it doesn't come out the day that I say it's going to. And that's not because I'm not doing my research. I go through this page every single day before I do this, but I try to put this video out a little bit earlier just to give people an idea of some books that might be worth checking out. One of the big things I know last week, if you watched last week's video, I ended up talking about a book called Fallen #1, and it looks like that book might have gotten pushed back to this week. I did even say in that I was not very sure when I thought that was actually coming out, but I wanted to just kind of let people know, and I continuously say this because I still think that League of Comic Geek is probably the best solution if you're looking to try and find what books you want to get each week. You know, the hard thing with previews is it doesn't have DC books unless your shop is using previews for you to pick your pre-orders. So it's just been hard for me to really find a place, especially when I'm trying to put this video out on Friday, just so I can give everyone a heads up on some of the books that I'm anticipating. And every single week, I like to have a guest on. So usually what I do is I start with either the ongoings or the #1s, and then I invite the guest on, and then I continue going from there. So I'm going to talk about ongoings first. The first one is going to be Stillwater #18. This book has been pretty awesome. I kind of stopped, right? There was this really good point where when that Skybound issue came out, I really started to fall in love with this story. And for some reason, I stopped reading it at that point. But I took a day off of work because I was sick. I wasn't feeling good. I had a huge headache. So I just kind of laid in bed and I read some issues. And I think I read issue 11 through 17, including that annual that came out. And I was just blown away. Why did I stop reading it? I love Stillwater. I just knew that the finale was coming up, so I wanted to catch up just so that I would be ready to talk Stillwater #18 when that book dropped. And here it is. This is from creative team Chip Zdarsky with artist Mike Spicer. I've really enjoyed pretty much all of this. I know that it kind of took about an arc to really get me hooked in, but I really dug this book. So this is the final issue of Stillwater. Have you been reading it or have you not been reading it? This is a book that I am kind of in that camp of, I am not sure if this is coming out or not. I have talked to the writer about this a few times, and I think that they had mentioned that they think it comes out the 29th, but League of Comic Geek is telling me the 22nd. So I just want to put this out there in case it is. And this is How I Became a Shoplifter #3. This is also the final issue of that book. I have fallen in love with How I Became a Shoplifter. This is from writer Tom Breyfogle, and I'm sorry if I butchered your last name. It could be pronounced multiple ways. There are a ton of different artists on this book, and each of these issues kind of have all these different stories, and I just really dig what's happening in this book. So if you have not heard of How I Became a Shoplifter, this is coming from Sumerian Comics, and the idea of this is that there are all these mini stories involving these two characters and just some of the silly antics that they have gotten into. If you were a millennial, I think this is a great book for you because it deals with just kind of that adolescence of doing some things maybe you shouldn't, but not having cell phones in the way to get you caught or just to make you look stupid. You know, there's some love in here, there's some antics, there's some misbehaving, and I've really enjoyed it. And to be completely honest, there is an epilogue in the back of this that has me even more stoked. I am going to say right now, there is a good chance that How I Became a Shoplifter is a book that I'm going to be talking about at the the end of the year on some of my favorite books. That first issue may be one of the best issues that I have ever read, and it really took this story off into an amazing feat. So I really think anyone who caused some trouble as a kid, got into some problems, could really relate to this book and maybe really enjoy it as much as I did. And the final book from the ongoings is going to be Vanish #5. This is from writer Donny Cates, artist Ryan Stegman. I love the first 4 issues of this. I am I think maybe possibly I thought this was supposed to be a mini, but there is a good chance that I think that maybe they're making this more. I know that they came out and said that volume 1 is going to come out soon. So we had a little bit of a break, but we are back and I am pumped to keep reading Vanish. I really love that first arc of Vanish and I thought that it was a very solid book. I know that there are a lot of people out here who are really digging Vanish and maybe some people that aren't. But if you're digging Vanish, let me know because I am pumped to get this back and I hope you are too. And I think that my guests this week is somebody that maybe a lot of you YouTubers may not be familiar with. And this is my buddy Joe. You might know him from his, I think, Twitter and Instagram handle of Joe Loves Comics. He also has a podcast called Joe Talks Comics. I will have all of his links down below on where you can find him. But let's see what Joe has for his most anticipated comic.
Hello, my name is Joe Loves Comics, and thank you, Cole, for inviting me onto the channel for this segment. It's exciting. I've watched this for a while, so it's really cool to be invited on and get to share some of my picks for next week. I've got my own sort of Stranger Things comic t-shirt as well, not necessarily deliberately for the occasion, but it's nice when these things line up. The first couple of picks are things that I just wanted to sort of mention briefly, because I'm sure that Cole might have already mentioned them, and also they're not as major as the third pick, which lots of people might not have heard of. So I'm only picking up 3 books next week, so that's not a whole lot compared to what I normally pick up, but a couple of very strong and good ones, hopefully. First one is Batman Superman World's Finest 13 by Mark Waid, Dan Mora, Tamara Bonvillain, and that's been a really fun series. It's really exciting. They're going on to a new arc starting in this issue about Metamorpho. So it's really, really fun. I can't stress this enough. That the art was absolutely awesome. The artwork is absolutely awesome. So yeah, definitely recommend trying it out if you haven't already. And also we got Superman issue 2, written by Joshua Williamson, art by Jamal Campbell, and it's looking like it's gonna be a new appearance of this new hero or anti-hero, I guess maybe, Marilyn Moon Knight. This is on the cover, so that's exciting. This first issue was really great. I really enjoyed it, and the artwork is gorgeous, and it was really entertaining. Williamson's writing can be a bit mixed for me sometimes, so I wasn't sure if I was going to check it out, but I'm so glad I did, even for the slightly increased price. I think it's definitely worth, if you have some spare space on your pull list, worth trying out and checking out for yourself. But the main one I wanted to highlight in this segment is the new Source Point Press one-shot coming out this week, Etheris, by Anas Abdulhak and Dennis Menhir on writing and art, respectively. This is I got to read this early, and it was a gorgeous book. The artwork, I absolutely love it. If you look at the cover, it's got this lovely, painted feel to it. And also, I got to talk to the creators last month about this issue, about the process of it, their inspirations, how they created it, and lots of that good stuff. So that was really fun. Go check it out on my podcast, Joe Talks Comics, if you want to. Well, first of all, if you need convincing, and also if you want to learn a bit more about the creation behind it, you can go and check that out. And yeah, I thought I could sort of sum it up myself, but I thought I might as well just read the description to give you an idea. Where do souls go when they don't belong anywhere else? Journey into Etheris, searching for the answers in this introspective character study about pain and self-loathing. For fans of tales of the afterlife, such as The Lovely Bones and AD After Death. Following Valerie's passing, she finds herself navigating an unknown and perilous world. She tells her story through poetry and narration, and she experiences her surroundings while also recalling her past life, her trauma, and why she believes she deserves to be there. Writer Anas Abdulhak brings you this harrowing tale of the afterlife, with groundbreaking art by Dennis Menhir, edits by Colourful Ways creator Michelle Aban Ada, I hope I said that right, sorry. And Letters by Ringo nominated DC Hopkins. So yes, as someone that got to read it early, I can definitely recommend it. Unfortunately, I know it was a Source Point Press book. It might not be something that your store will have immediately ordered in just as standard for the shelf. But of course, if you do see any copies, I would recommend trying it out and picking up if you think that sounds like your thing. The sort of poetry, no dialogue, just sort of all talked about narration and poetry and sort of illustrated beautifully through the artwork. But if they don't have any on the shelf, it's always worth trying to see if they can order more from the distributor. I'm not sure if, because I know, of course, it's like uh, the whole thing of final order cut off, but they might still have some in stock, depending on how many they printed. I mean, it's always worth a try. And if not, then I hope you can pick it up somewhere and get a chance to check it out, because it is definitely worth it. And of course, as a small press, sort of point press book, they definitely deserve your support. Yeah, thank you again, Cole, for having me on. You can find me on the social medias at Joe Loves Comics and the podcast at Joe Talks Comics on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. And yeah, thanks again. I'll see everybody around.
I'm really glad that you picked that book because I was going to pick that book. I've been really into Source Point Press. Throughout the years, they have, there was a time when I stopped kind of buying some of their books for a little bit because of some issues that I saw with them. But I think that, since then they have kind of corrected those things. They are a local publisher to West Michigan. And by West Michigan, they're in East Michigan. But hey, they're in Michigan and I really dig that. So I'm glad that you're talking about this. I saw this cover. I had it on my short list. But now that you mentioned it, I think that I can take it off. I was also going to call it Ethers. So apparently I don't know how to read. And you do. So congratulations on that. But once again, I do have Joe's links down below. Follow him over there on Instagram. I think he's on Twitter too. He posts a ton on League of Comic Geeks also. So if you are a regular over there, you'll see a lot of his reviews and takes. And Joe is an awesome member of the community. So thank you again, Joe, for joining me on this journey of most anticipated comics. And let's get in to some of these number ones that I am excited to read. And my first number one is coming over from Boom Studios. We got Neighbors number one. This is from writer Jade Ellison S. Doyle and artist Letzia Candonci. And I may or may not have butchered that name, and I am sorry if I did. But let me just give you the blurb of this. I honestly didn't even read it. I just saw this cover, and I was like, this seems like a book that I will like. When Janet and Oliver Goody move to a quaint mountain town, their daughter Casey becomes part of a horrific chain of events, revealing that their neighbors are anything but what they seem. Soon, an unsettling old woman named Angus Early, fixated on Janet and Oliver's other daughter, 2-year-old Isabel, it becomes clear that it's impossible to know who to trust or even is still human. Steeped in Irish and English folklore and mythology, Jude Ellison S. Doyle from Maw joins artist Letzia Candice from House of Slaughter and colorist Alessandro Santoro from Bloom to trend new ground in creating horror. A tale perfect for fans of Eat the Rich and Nice House on the Lake. Now, I love Nice House on the Lake. I was not a huge fan of Eat the Rich, but I thought that it had some pretty solid overall concept. But Maw is a book that I loved. So I am really, really pumped to check out Neighbors. Is this a book that you're looking forward to? I would love to know. There are certain cover artists that I think when given the opportunity to do a cover, it brings people in and they want to buy these books. And this book did that. We have We Wicked Ones number one. This is from Scout Comics with writer L.J. Dewey, artist Paul O'Mell, and cover artist David Mack. You could tell this was David Mack just from looking at it. And this is one of those books where I've been kind of in and out of Scout. I was doing the Scout boxes for a while and I just got kind of out of the mix. I had to cut money somewhere and that was it. But I am excited to start getting back into some of these Scout titles. And I think We Wicked Ones seems like a great one. They always say don't judge a book by its cover. But when you get great comic book covers, it's really hard not to want to go in there and grab them. And just because of what I said earlier on another book, I'm going to maybe say the same thing for this one. We've got Pop Scars #1 from Sumerian Comics. This is writer Pat O'Malley, artist Santi Gillen, and I have seen a lot of people talking about this on social media, and it really piqued my interest. I love this cover. It is very unsettling, but it is coming from Sumerian Comics, and the one thing that I mentioned, like with how I became a shoplifter, is that this might not be coming out this week. So I really hope it is, and I would really love to check this book out. I have heard a lot of people talk about this, explaining that it's gritty. I know that if you go on Instagram, there are tons of people like cosplaying this and doing stuff for it. So I am kind of pumped for this. I think that the creative team for this book did a great job of getting the internet to embrace in it, and I think this was a Kickstarter beforehand, so really to embrace this book and start promoting it so that it is just something that I recognize, and hey, I probably need to read this. And now I know that I said those were the books that I'm most anticipating, but I had to add this one other book in, and it is Blue Book #2. The reason that I do this is it's coming from writer James Tynan and artist Michael Avon Oming, and this is issue #2. I had issue #1 on my most anticipated list, and I didn't dig that first issue. I think that this is a good book for people that like stuff like National Enquirer. These are supposed to be non-fiction stories, but when it comes to supernatural encounters, who knows how much is really considered non-fiction. I thought that the backup story was kind of cool. It dealt with this like flying raptor boy thing. And you know, those are the kind of things that I get out of like National Enquirer, but that first issue just didn't do a ton for me. I just would like to know, a lot of people probably picked up Blue Book. What were your thoughts overall on that book? For me, it didn't really hit, but in the end of the day, I don't know that I just love the idea of like a non-fiction-y tale in this supernatural world. So once again, thank you very much to everyone who stopped by and watched this video. As I always mention, I just love talking comics with other people that love comics as much as I do. So if you are a comic lover and you would like to join this show, please let me know. I would love to have you on, just like Joe came on this week, and talk about your most anticipated cover or comic. It doesn't even have to be an issue. It could be a trade paperback, or you could even come on and just say, you know what? I love this freaking cover, because that's what I just want. I want new people talking about their love and me being able to get new ideas on stuff that I might like, but also to help you fans and viewers out there know some other books that maybe I just don't talk about. And that is what I love about comics. There's so much stuff out there. I know a lot of people comment that they like that I pick some of these indies just because they're not reading them or they might not be on their radar. And that's kind of what I dig, right? These indie stories sometimes have much better stuff than what we're getting in Marvel and DC. And while Marvel and DC both have amazing books out, I just like to showcase some of these more independent books because I think right now maybe they need it a little bit more than those two companies. So please let me know in the comments down below, what are you looking forward to this week? And if you have made it to this point in time and you have not already subscribed to my channel, I think that maybe you probably like this idea of a video. So I would love it if you could subscribe, maybe smash that like button, and let me know what you're looking forward to this week for New Comic Book Day. I also have a 1,000 subscriber giveaway. I'll have that up here. Make sure you go enter that. There are some pretty good prizes in that, and I just want to thank each and every one of you who have came onto here and watched some of my videos, left a comment, and just shared this passion of comics with me. So as always, I have been Cole. A wise man once said, ride on and peace. And I know I just said bye, but if you hit my head right here, that'll bring you right to the subscribe if you haven't already. And if you come over here, you'll see that 1,000 subscriber video that I talked about. And down here will be my cover challenge with Bearded Comic Bro. We're doing team, and we'd love to have you join in on that challenge.